endorsing a new board but not announcing who they are just yet, instead promising to name them later this month. Henyard is under investigation by the FBI.
Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested.
If you're considering attending Mayor Tiffany Henyard's reelection party in Dalton, Illinois, be prepared for a steep $50 entrance fee, a price that raises eyebrows and sparks debate about the motives behind such a hefty fundraising strategy. While some argue it's a necessary move to finance her campaign, the controversy surrounding Henyard's tenure as mayor makes it difficult to ignore the possibility that this could be a calculated political maneuver or even an attempt to address financial issues that have plagued her administration. Henyard assumed office in 2021. And since then, her leadership has been mired in persistent criticism. Accusations of financial mismanagement, voter suppression, and questionable appointments have divided the town, leaving many residents frustrated and distrustful of her leadership. Under these circumstances, the $50 price tag for the re-election event only adds fuel to the fire, further complicating an already charged political atmosphere. Critics of Henyard argue that the event's high cost could be a desperate attempt to cover up financial gaps, especially in light of allegations of misusing taxpayer funds. These critics contend that rather than focusing on the issues facing Dalton, Henyard's decision to hold an expensive fundraiser reflects a broader attempt to deflect attention from the serious questions surrounding her administration's handling of town finances. Many residents are concerned about how their money is being spent, with some pointed claims of misallocated funds under Henyard's watch. These frustrations have created a rift between her and the community, with opponents seeing the $50 entrance fee as emblematic of a leader more interested in consolidating power and securing financial support than addressing the legitimate concerns of Dalton's resident. Supporters of Henyard, however, defend the re-election event as a strategic move, emphasizing it as a demonstration of her ability to garner public and financial support despite the controversies. They argue that her political acumen and resilience are qualities to be admired, and that her supporters should be willing to help fund her campaign as a sign of loyalty. These backers see Henyard's persistence in the face of criticism as proof of her determination to continue leading Dalton, no matter the obstacles in her path. Yet the question remains, is a $50 entrance fee truly a sign of strength, or does it signal a deeper issue with inclusivity? Dalton, a town already grappling with economic struggles, high crime rates, and political instability, may find it hard to justify such an expensive event. For many, paying that amount to attend a fundraiser for a leader embroiled in multiple disputes feels like an elitist move, one that risks alienating a large portion of the population who cannot afford to participate at its core. Henyard's re-election party seems to reflect the broader tensions surrounding her leadership. Her administration has been marked by allegations of financial misconduct, poor leadership appointments, and an increasingly divisive political environment. Many Dalton residents have come to view her as a polarizing figure, one who prioritizes personal ambition over the well-being of the community. Despite these criticisms, Henyard remains resolute in her pursuit of re-election, with her high-profile event serving as a bold statement of her commitment to her base. The growing divide between Henyard supporters and detractors underscores the political landscape in Dalton, where access to leadership and loyalty to political figures appear to be increasingly tied to socioeconomic status. The $50 fee at the re-election party has transformed what could have been a simple community event into a symbol of the widening gap between different factions within the town. Critics argue that it exemplifies a political culture focused more on spectacle and fundraising than on addressing the real issues affecting residents. This focus on fundraising, particularly through high-cost events, reflects a broader trend in modern politics, where financial backing of a loyal base becomes more important than concerns of a wider electorate. Henyard's campaign seems to be leaning heavily on the support of those willing and able to pay, rather than seeking broad-based community engagement or tackling the financial mismanagement claims that have plagued her administration. Henyard's decision to push forward with her re-election bid, despite the mounting criticism and dissatisfaction, speaks volumes about her leadership style. Many residents view her persistence as an act of defiance, a refusal to acknowledge the deep flaws in her administration. For them, her re-election campaign feels like an effort to shore up power rather than a genuine attempt to address Dalton's financial struggles or improve the lives of its residents. Or supporters, on the other hand, interpret her actions as a sign of determination. They believe that Henyard's willingness to stand by her record, even in the face of widespread criticism, is a mark of political strength. In their view, her re-election bid represents an opportunity to reaffirm her vision for the town and to continue pushing for the changes she believes are necessary. Despite the roadblocks in her path, however, as Henyard's tenure in office has unfolded, her leadership has come under increasing scrutiny. She has faced accusations of using the local police force to intimidate political opponents, and her administration has been criticized for prioritizing private interests over public welfare. Many of her former allies have publicly voiced dissatisfaction, accusing her of using her office to serve personal agendas at the expense of the town's well-being. This sense of disillusionment has only intensified public frustration, creating a climate of distrust that has deepened the divide between Henyard and those who believe she has failed to serve the community as Henyard continues with her re-election campaign. The focus has shifted from her leadership achievements to the controversies that have defined her time in office. These ongoing issues of financial mismanagement, questionable appointments, and divisive leadership style have left Dalton in a state of uncertainty. For many, Henyard's re-election bid is less about progress and more about preserving the status quo, holding on to power in a town that seems increasingly divided over its future direction for Dalton residents. The stakes couldn't be higher. Henyard's re-election bid will either solidify her political future or serve as a pivotal moment in the town's history, a chance for voters to confront the issues of governance and accountability that have been central to her leadership. The outcome of this election will not only determine the course of Henyard's political career, but could also shape Dalton's future for years to come as her re-election campaign unfolds. The town remains deeply divided. On one side are those who see Henyard as a leader who has fought through adversity and deserves another chance to lead. On the other are those who view her as a symbol of failing administration that has prioritized personal ambition over the needs of the community. The $50 price tag for her re-election party has become just one more piece in the larger puzzle of questions surrounding her leadership, with critics and supporters alike trying to make sense of the political landscape that Henyard's tenure has created ultimately. Henyard's decision to move forward with such a high-profile, expensive fundraising event sends a clear message. Her re-election campaign will depend on maintaining the loyalty of her base, even if it risks alienating others in the community. In a town already struggling with economic challenges and political unrest, this gamble could either strengthen her support or widen the divide, making the future of Dalton's leadership uncertain. The controversy surrounding Henyard's tenure and re-election bid has underscored the critical role that campaign finance plays in modern politics, especially in smaller municipalities where resources are limited and the stakes are incredibly high. The outcome of Henyard's re-election campaign will serve as a reflection of how politics in Dalton and in similar small towns function in an environment where financial backing, public perception, and political survival are intertwined. As the election approaches, Dalton residents will have to confront deeper questions about the values they want their leadership to embody, whether they prioritize transparency, accountability, and integrity, or whether they're willing to accept a leadership style that prioritizes loyalty and financial support over addressing the town's pressing issues. The decision voters make in the coming months will determine not only Henyard's future as mayor, but also the broader direction of Dalton's political landscape in the years to come.
First time in many weeks, Dalton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together. But
since Tiffany Henyard took office as mayor of Dalton in 2021, her leadership has become the center of intense controversy, drawing comparisons to a high-stakes political drama that rivals any primetime TV show. Dalton, a small town located just south of Chicago, with a population of around 20,000, has been plagued by accusations of financial mismanagement, corruption, and abuse of power under Henyard's watch. Some even claim that she used the local police force to intimidate her political opponents. These allegations, coming from both former allies and political rivals, accuse Henyard of misusing public funds, making unnecessary purchases, and funneling town resources for personal gain. With Dalton already struggling financially, the scandals surrounding Henyard have only deepened the town's fiscal instability. As residents question whether Henyard is truly focused on serving them, many fear she is using her office for personal enrichment. The revelations about Henyard's alleged misuse of public money have further fueled public frustration. Reports claim that she used taxpayer dollars for her personal endeavors and engaged in questionable financial transactions, prompting doubts about whether she is working to improve Dalton or simply benefiting from the position. Critics point to her lack of transparency and suspect financial practices, arguing that instead of addressing the town's urgent issues, her administration has exacerbated them as dissatisfaction with Henyard's leadership grows. Even some of her former supporters have turned against her, fearing that personal ambition is taking precedence over the needs of the people. This increasing discontent has led many to openly question her ability to lead, complicating her efforts to seek re-election. Despite this, Henyard remains undeterred, pressing forward with her re-election campaign. Her decision to hold a campaign launch party has been viewed by some as an attempt to project confidence, while others see it as a tone-deaf move that shows her detachment from the serious problems facing the community. For many residents, this move has only deepened their frustration. As Dalton citizens grapple with slow progress and growing concerns about the administration's priorities, many feel Henyard's leadership has been more about political theatrics than addressing real problems. Under her tenure, the town has experienced significant unrest, with Henyard emerging as a polarizing figure. Both fiercely defended by some and vocally criticized by other, supporters praise Henyard for her resilience and her ability to navigate political turmoil, but her detractors argue that her boldness is more about dismissing criticism than responding to it. They accuse her of ignoring concerns raised by both the public and her peers. The political climate in Dalton has become increasingly contentious, forcing the town to confront difficult questions about its governance and the responsibilities of its leaders. Henyard's decision to forge ahead with her re-election bid only intensifies the divisions within the community. Critics see it as evidence of an administration unwilling to acknowledge its failures, while her supporters view it as a sign of her unwavering determination to continue leading the town. The stakes surrounding her re-election campaign could have lasting consequences, not only for Henyard's political future, but for Dalton's future, as well for Henyard's backers. Her candidacy represents a chance for stability and a reaffirmation of the bold vision she claims to champion. For her critics, however, her re-election campaign has become a critical turning point, a moment to hold her accountable for what they view as failed leadership or risk further entrenching the town in dysfunction. As these opposing narratives clash, Dalton residents are left to weigh the consequences of her leadership. Uncertain about the town's future, the outcome of Henyard's re-election bid will be more than just a personal victory or defeat. It will serve as a barometer for how Dalton navigates its differences and addresses the complex challenges it faces. Henyard's political career stands at a crossroads, and the town must now confront larger questions about leadership, accountability, and governance. The results of this election will shape Dalton's trajectory for years to come, either reaffirming Henyard's controversial leadership or signaling the need for change in the face of years of scandal.
Meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum.
That came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting, as trustees expressed.
Despite ongoing controversies in a federal investigation, Tiffany Henyard remains steadfast in her pursuit of re-election as mayor of Dalton, Illinois. Her decision to continue campaigning in the face of mounting legal and financial challenges has shocked many, but Henyard's resolve seems unshaken. In what some perceive as an effort to secure her financial future and maintain control over the town's finances, she recently proposed a wage ordinance that would lower the salary of her successor if she loses the upcoming election. This bold move has raised serious concerns about her leadership and ethics, especially given the growing cloud of controversy surrounding her tenure earlier this year. Federal authorities issued subpoenas in connection with a Facebook investigation into Henyard's alleged financial misconduct. The investigation is focused on claims that she misused taxpayer funds for personal expenses, including extravagant purchases such as upscale hotel stays, luxury dining, and even personal Amazon orders. The investigation reportedly spans not just Dalton, but nearby Thornton Township, where Henyard also serves as a supervisor. If the allegations are proven true, they could point to thousands of dollars being spent on personal indulgences at a time when Dalton has been facing significant financial struggles. These revelations have raised serious questions about Henyard's fiscal responsibility and her ability to prioritize the needs of the community over her own personal gain. Despite the serious nature of the investigation, Henyard has maintained a relatively low profile when it comes to addressing the accusations. While she did briefly address the allegations in a Facebook Live broadcast, she failed to provide any concrete evidence or detailed explanations to clear her name. Instead, her 90-minute monologue shifted focus to blaming her political opponents for Dalton's troubles, promising to reveal more details at a later time. This lack of transparency only fueled suspicions among residents, and her refusal to directly address the charges left many feeling increasingly disillusioned with her leadership. The growing skepticism surrounding Henyard has empowered her opponents, including Jason House, a mayoral candidate running on the Clean House slate. House and others have publicly demanded more accountability from Henyard, insisting that the town deserves transparency and responsible leadership. Public meetings have become heated, with residents openly questioning Henyard's actions. Some have even asked, "Why won't you step down? This is an embarrassment to Dalton." However, Henyard has shown no intention of bowing to the pressure. Instead, she has used every political tactic at her disposal to hold on to power, including threatening to have her opponents arrested in one of her infamous Facebook Live sessions. Henyard boldly claimed that she would file charges against several individuals, though she did not specify what offenses they had allegedly committed. The decision to escalate tensions in such a way has left many uneasy, especially as Henyard's legal and financial issues continue to mount. In addition to the federal investigation, Henyard is also facing an eviction lawsuit from her landlord for failing to pay rent on her house, which has been overdue for several months. Her landlord, Janetta Ho, recently went public with the issue, revealing that Henyard and her partner, Kamal Woods, had not paid rent since August. The couple even changed the locks on the property to prevent Ho from entering, which further complicated the situation. Ho, once a friend to Henyard, filed the eviction lawsuit but has been unable to serve the papers, as Henyard has reportedly been evading in the combination of legal troubles, financial misconduct allegations, and the pending eviction lawsuit paints a troubling picture for someone hoping to retain political power. Despite these issues, Henyard's attempts to cling to control over Dalton only seem to alienate her further from the community. As her re-election campaign gains momentum, The situation in the town has become increasingly unstable. Residents are deeply divided, with some defending Henyard's resilience, while others are demanding that she step down. Henyard supporters argue that she is dedicated to the town and that her unwavering determination is a sign of strength in the face of adversity. They point to her ability to navigate through chaos and continue fighting for re-election as evidence of her commitment to Dalton. However, her critics see her as someone entrenched in scandal, willing to do whatever it takes to hold on to power, even if it means using divisive and extreme tactics. This has only deepened public concerns about her leadership and whether she is truly working in the best interest of Dalton residents. The situation is further complicated by Henyard's alleged misuse of public resources, which has become a key issue in the ongoing debate over her leadership. One of the most shocking allegations involves Henyard's extravagant spending on the village's credit card, including a jaw-dropping $443,000 Amazon shopping spree. In addition, reports suggest that Henyard has spent thousands of dollars on luxury dining, entertainment, and travel, expenses that seem highly inappropriate given Dalton's ongoing financial struggles. These alleged missteps have raised serious questions about Henyard's priorities as a leader, with many residents feeling frustrated by the stark contrast between their own economic hardships and her apparent disregard for fiscal responsibility. To make matters worse, Henyard has also been accused of using the Dalton Police Department for personal gain. Former Dalton Police Chief Robert Collins, who was fired by Henyard, claims that the mayor racked up over $1 million in overtime pay for officers who were allegedly assigned to serve as her personal bodyguards and perform personal errands. These officers reportedly accompanied Henyard on shopping trips, picked up her daughter from school, and provided security during her personal activities. If these allegations are true, they suggest a troubling pattern of using public resources for personal benefit, an abuse of power that has only intensified concerns among Dalton residents who already feel that their leaders are out of touch with their struggles. In addition to these financial and ethical concerns, Collins also accused Henyard of instructing him to target specific individuals for harassment. This allegation has further fueled accusations of coercion, intimidation, and the misuse of law enforcement for personal vendettas. This environment of alleged corruption and authoritarian behavior has made Henyard a polarizing figure, with many questioning whether she is truly working for the good of Dalton or abusing her position for personal gain. As Henyard's re-election campaign presses forward, her critics are more vocal than ever. The timing of her campaign has only heightened the skepticism surrounding her leadership. Some view her push for re-election as a desperate attempt to retain power in the face of mounting opposition and legal challenges, while others see it as a defiant show of confidence amid the growing evidence of misconduct. The $50 admission fee for her re-election party has sparked its own wave of criticism, with residents questioning the appropriateness of such a fundraising move given the financial strain many in the community are facing. For her critics, the party appears to be a blatant attempt to deflect attention from her growing list of scandals and controversies. Despite the growing opposition, Henyard supporters continue to defend her, dismissing the allegations as politically motivated attacks from her adversaries. They argue that the controversy surrounding her administration is part of a broader effort to discredit her leadership and tarnish her reputation. However, the optics of her alleged actions, particularly the lavish spending and the use of police officers for personal purposes, have only deepened public suspicions and damaged her credibility. The $1 million in overtime expenses for her security detail and the accusations of political targeting have fueled calls for greater accountability and reform. As the election approaches, Dalton finds itself at a crossroads. Henyard's tenure has been marked by financial mismanagement, unethical leadership, and a series of troubling scandals that have left the town deeply divided. The upcoming election represents a critical choice of the community: continue the status quo or embrace a new direction after years of turmoil and mismanagement. For many Dalton residents, the election is not just about choosing a mayor. It is a referendum on the town's future and its ability to recover from the damage caused by Henyard's leadership. The outcome of the election will not only determine Henyard's political future, but will also serve as a barometer for Dalton's ability to overcome the growing ethical and financial challenges that have plagued the town. The battle for control of the town's future is now in full swing, with Henyard's re-election bid serving as a focal point for a community desperate for change. As the situation becomes more unstable, Dalton residents are left to decide whether they will rally behind their embattled mayor or reject her leadership in favor of a new direction.
Embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is mounting a re-election bid. Henyard made the announcement in a post on...
Critics have increasingly pointed out a glaring disconnect between Tiffany Henyard's campaign portrayal of progress and the stark reality of Dalton's ongoing financial instability and widespread public dissatisfaction. Many argue that her re-election bid appears to be more about retaining power than addressing the pressing issues facing the town. A recent example that has drawn sharp criticism is the $50 admission fee for her re-election party. For many residents, this fundraising tactic is seen as audacious and tone-deaf, especially in light of Dalton's economic struggles. The fee, combined with ongoing allegations of lavish personal spending, has reinforced perception that Henyard is out of touch with the financial realities many of her constituents are facing. This disconnect has sparked outrage, with many viewing the event as a symbol of Henyard's failure to empathize with the town's hardships. Critics argue that her leadership has been marked by fiscal mismanagement and an unwillingness to address the town's growing economic challenges. For many, this growing divide between Henyard's campaign message and the harsh realities on the ground underscores a broader issue, a lack of accountability and transparency in her administration. As Henyard presses on with her re-election bid, she faces mounting skepticism from residents who feel she is more focused on personal ambition than the urgent need for reform despite the controversy and allegations of financial misconduct surrounding her. Henyard's confidence in her ability to lead remains unwavering. She continues to present herself as a resilient leader who can overcome adversity. However, this portrayal has been met with increasing skepticism from both her critics and the public. Many wonder if her focus on political survival and self-interest is overshadowing Dalton's need for competent leadership that addresses its most pressing issues, such as fiscal responsibility and ethical governance. The narrative surrounding her re-election campaign highlights the tension between Henyard's portrayal of steadfast leadership and the perception that her administration has failed to address the core issues facing the town. Residents are left grappling with the difficult decision of whether to continue supporting a mayor whose leadership has been marked by controversy, financial mismanagement, and a perceived lack of transparency. The growing calls for change reflect a widespread desire for accountability and ethical governance that prioritizes the town's long-term well-being over personal gain. For Henyard, this re-election campaign has become a defining moment in both her political career and the future of Dalton. The stakes have never been higher. Her critics continue to call for a fresh direction that prioritizes responsible fiscal management and transparent governance. Meanwhile, her supporters insist that she remains a resilient leader capable of steering the town through its challenges as her campaign continues. The divide between Henyard and many of Dalton's residents grows ever more apparent. The controversy surrounding her leadership and the growing calls for change have turned her re-election bid into a critical juncture for both the town and her political future. The outcome of the election will have lasting implications for Dalton's political landscape, determining whether the town can rebuild trust in its leadership or if Henyard's alleged misuse of power and resources will continue to erode the public's faith in its government. Dalton now stands at a crossroads. The decisions made in the coming months will shape the future of the town, determining whether it can move forward with renewed trust in its leadership or remain mired in the scandals and controversies that have defined Henyard's time in office. Ultimately, it is up to the residents of Dalton to decide if they believe Henyard's continued leadership is in their best interest or if it's time for a new direction entirely. The fate of the town and Henyard's political future now rests in their hands. Thanks for watching Celeb News.